The Crypto Street Podcast is hosted by Crypto Dale, Prince, and Killer Whale, who can be found on Twitter at CryptoDale, at Killer Whale, K1LLERWH4LE, and at 13Prince31. None of this should be construed as investment advice. For information on how to join our private Telegram group, The Pod, please email tcsp@protonmail.com. The Crypto Street Podcasts are officially sponsored by 21 Cryptos, the world's first and only cryptocurrency trading magazine. Visit 21cryptos.com and enjoy 50-plus pages of pro tips and predictions, an analysis of the best 21 coins to invest in for the month, trading lessons and articles from your favorite pros, price action event calendars, entertainment, and lots more. Stay ahead of the game and get your copy today. Visit 21cryptos.com.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Crypto Street Podcast. Hope you enjoyed your holiday season. Had a great New Year's. This is the first episode we're releasing for 2018, so welcome to the new year. Killer, how was your holiday?
Went to my uncle's, had a lot of good food, drank a little bit. It was a good time. Good time all around.
My man up in Canada, how you feeling?
My holidays was subpar. You know, seeing the family was good, but got nice and sick, so hopefully I don't sneeze or anything during this recording. I'm sure you listeners wouldn't enjoy that.
Just make sure your mic is covered up with a foam piece and you should be good to go. Don't get germs. You guys want to know what my favorite part is about the holidays?
What?
Is these things called Reese's peanut butter trees. The white chocolate kind.
God.
Shout out to Reese's Pieces. We are open for sponsorship. I am, at least. My mom usually throws a bag in my stocking and I could probably eat the entire bag in one sitting.
See, for me, it's the massive Toblerone bars. Those ones that are like the size of your forearm.
You know, I've never heard of those.
Yeah, I'm more of like a Sour Patch Kids, like Sour Patch watermelons, that sort of thing.
There you go.
Those are my favorites.
I can get down with anything watermelon flavor, really.
Yeah, my favorite part of the holidays was the agonizing crypto conversations with family, which I alluded to on Twitter, but were truly brutal. And because I talked about it a little bit to one of my more talkative family members, he's just yapping the whole time. Killer knows a lot about this. Why don't you talk to him to everybody? And my aunt is coming, and she's talking to me about it, and just you can tell it's just like a deer in the headlights look, and I'm like, oh god, this is getting nowhere. But the questions are still coming. I'm like, none of this is being absorbed, but I'll keep talking about it.
Yeah, I wore my Cash Take BTC shirt from Listen Destro's store to my wife's family Christmas. And the first thing is when people find out, get over the hump, what's that mean? Bitcoin. First thing out of their mouth, oh, you're a millionaire? No, I'm fucking broke, actually, but thank you. And then it was, awesome. The constant talk about Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash, basically what they've heard on Yahoo News or the news about it. I heard it popped. It was a bubble.
Yeah, but there's so much misinformation too. I get an email from my uncle the other day, and he's like, I read about the creator of Bitcoin sold all of his coins and is abandoning it. And I was like, what? I was like, Satoshi?
He came out from the shadow?
I'm like, wait a minute. He means Charlie Lee. And he's talking about Litecoin. And I'm like, not the same thing.
Yeah, it's definitely
I had
growing.
Somebody, I was out doing some last minute Christmas shopping on Christmas Eve, and I made the mistake of wearing a Bitcoin hat into the mall. And I guess I shouldn't have done that. Anyways, yeah, sure enough, I'm at the till paying for my stuff, and lady starts looking at me. She's like, and she had the audacity to ask me, how many Bitcoin do I have?
Oh God.
I've actually never felt more disgusted kind of. It's like, why? I'm not asking you how much money you have in your bank account.
That's super rude.
It's like, how much money do you have in your bank account?
Question.
It's like, don't ask me that. It was just ridiculous. But that's
people and people that send DMs, if you want any help at all, do not fucking start with that. I know Randy, it seems like Randy in the pod gets that all the time. He's always saying someone asked him that. Yeah. I don't know what the deal is, but we don't ask, you don't like when people ask you what's in your bank account, so don't ask us what
That's not
we have.
Yeah, and that's not even like crypto etiquette. That's just like life etiquette, like manners.
Yeah, it's just rude as shit to do that. Like,
hey, Prince, how was the Boxing Day or whatever the hell it's called?
Christmas Eve shopping?
Yeah, whatever.
Well, I went to the most hood mall there was where I'm at, so it was actually pretty good, but there's some pretty sketchy stuff I saw go down, so I don't know if I want to get into that. But yeah, it was pretty hood. I felt
Prince goes into the ghetto,
good,
searching for a bargain.
Had some guy try to fight me in the parking lot. It was,
of course,
it was a good time. Yeah, a lot of education. You get out there and see the world.
Prince had to throw down the gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you throw your gloves off in the parking lot ready to get down hockey style or what?
Just looked at him and was like, "Let's Tilly." Fuck.
Tilly. Oh my God. I want to say I saw a video on YouTube. There's like a prank where a guy just walks around with hockey gloves and just like walks up to people and like throws them down. He's like, come on, come at me. He just like starts to like start a fight. It's a pretty good concept.
Well, tonight's episode, by the way, I didn't introduce myself. I apologize for being rude. I'm Crypto Dale. Santa Dale is now retired. He was tired of delivering ass to all you ungrateful bastards out there, pumping coins for you. Today's guest,
Santa Dale is a salty Santa. I didn't really like him anyway.
I didn't really like him either. I got fucking DMs got DMs all the time. Hey, will you do this for Christmas? Will you do that?
Jolly looking, but kind of mean.
He was a little douche. So Crypto Dale's back. I know everyone's glad to hear that. Today, we're kind of mixing up the format. We did this one time before, and it was one of our better episodes, so we felt that the demand was definitely there to do something like this again. So we've got a quote unquote noob on here, noobish guest tonight. He goes by Ryan, is what we'll call him. His Twitter handle is Don Diego Capital, and his Twitch account, where he actually trades on Twitch, which if you don't know what that is, my little dorky brother's on it and plays video games. So you can watch him trade live. It's Crypto Capital. So Ryan, welcome.
Hey guys, thanks a lot for having me on.
Thanks for being here. Let's just kind of touch base. How'd you get into crypto? How long have you been in, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I've been in the game for about 3 months now, something like that. I'm a software engineer of over 10 years professionally. And a guy I work with, was really talking it up on a company trip. I'd heard of Bitcoin years ago, and I thought it was just like a purely speculative thing. Like it was almost like a Beanie Baby. Like if everyone bought into it, it would have value of its own. Like it just had some tacit value that everyone gave to it. But when my buddy was talking it up, I really got the sense that like it had utility and had these ideas of freedom to it, which really resonated with me. And when I, got exposed to the larger ecosystem of the altcoins and saw how diverse the ecosystem was, it really appealed to me. And so I just jumped in. I always thought trading was really cool, but knew that I couldn't make a dime on the stock market just as a guy like day trading at home.
Sure.
And with all of the volatility in these markets and it being a completely new asset class, kind of discovering new prices, I thought it was like the perfect time to jump in. So basically taught myself to write software. And then finally went to college after that to validate that and back it up with some fundamentals. And I kind of jumped into this in the same way and got up to speed pretty quickly, I think, and then started this Twitch thing and have just been having a blast.
Good stuff.
Hey, Ryan, so how long did it take you to figure out when you got in that there, maybe you got in on Coinbase. How long did it take you to figure out that the altcoins existed?
My buddy pointed me to a couple of altcoins almost immediately. He gave me a good perspective of Bitcoins and the relationship with altcoins and how Bitcoin was kind of like, it was like the reserve. It was the dollar for other assets. Mm-hmm. And that there was, a lot of speculation, a lot of volatility in these altcoin markets. And so I knew about it going into it. But I didn't know about it, years ago when I knew that Bitcoin was a thing. And I was initially really interested in Bitcoin from a technical standpoint, just being like cryptographically secure and kind of understanding the fundamentals from a software standpoint. But I didn't get how revolutionary this was and how like dangerous this was to established, money and networks throughout the world. And it really sounded to me like the democratization of money in the same way that the internet was the democratization of information. Mm-hmm. And like no one could put the genie back in the bottle. Governments can't stop this. Banks can't stop this. It's going to happen. Like you can't take the knowledge away from the people. And I just kind of wanted to be a part of that.
I hear new people like all the time. They're like, well, what if the government bans it? Well, what if China bans it? Well, what if the America bans it? It's like that's kind of the point, is that you can't really do that.
That's right. Yeah.
Which it takes a long time to realize.
There's been attempts by China now, maybe 3 times or something like that, to ban Bitcoin, and every time it kind of just comes out unsuccessful. So I think, the governments, the central banks are kind of sitting back, scratching their heads, like, how the hell do we deal with this? Because it's such a global thing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for people who are new, like the China thing's become a meme, basically. Like China bans Bitcoin. It's a big joke at this point. I mean, I have people new to it, I like message me in seriousness being like, is China going to ban Bitcoin? I'm like, dude, it's basically a joke. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, China doesn't want to be left behind either. Yeah, if the rest of the world is going to adopt this and they're going to get out in front of it, China doesn't want to be left behind in anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you really have to put yourself in the shoes of the other participants in the market, in the ecosystem, and see what they're going to do for their own benefit and kind of play off that. Because they're not going to do something to shoot themselves in the foot. If it's not to their benefit, they're not going to, they're not dumb,
So Ryan, how we do these quote unquote noob episodes is we kind of turn the table on you. You're allowed to ask us any questions you would like to, so go ahead. You can start with, I know, whatever ones you want, so go ahead.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So I'm constantly thinking about the next Black Swan event, because that's the real danger in the next year, I would guess. These markets are still discovering price. They're still bullish as all get out, like on any time frame. But like I think about Bitfinex and the Tether, conspiracy theory. And I was kind of curious on your take. Like, is it the next Mt. Gox?
Okay. I guess I'll go first, Prince. So here's my kind of progression with this Tether thing. For people who don't know, there's this guy on Twitter, Bitfinex. He's a Twitter account, and he's constantly ranting and raving about how US dollar Tether is a gigantic weakness in the system. It's going to cause Bitfinex at least to collapse, probably other exchanges too. And he's kind of been yelling into the wind for a long time on this stuff, to the point where a lot of people kind of consider it like they kind of ignore it or consider him a joke. I was in that same boat. I was like, this guy's a maniac. He's constantly spouting these tinfoil hat theories. But I didn't really buy into them. And then I had some conversations with a few people who I really respect in the space, within the past, 2 months, I would say. And, some of these people are pretty convinced that, either Bitfinex is some sort of Ponzi scheme or US dollar Tether is some sort of Ponzi scheme. And so I've kind of done a 180 on that. Where at this point, I do think it's something fairly fraudulent in terms of they're just kind of making money out of thin air. They're not backing it with actual dollars. But having said that, I don't know how much of a risk that actually is to the system. I don't think people really use US dollar Tether that much in general. I mean, I almost never do. I don't think people go USDT to cash. I think they mainly go to Bitcoin, send their Bitcoin to Coinbase, and then cash out there, or the same with Ethereum.
Yeah, that's my big thing. I know when, I want to get, say, my crypto holdings into more of a cash balance, I'm not going to go and put it into US dollar Tether, even though that option is there and it's an easy option, because Bitrex has it, Poloniex, I believe Poloniex has it. I haven't been on there in so long, but yeah, so to me, I'd rather put it in an actual cash exchange. So something like Coinbase, I guess, is a cash exchange, Quadriga, stuff like that. But yeah, for me, Tether, it's a weird topic because I'm definitely not as in the know, I think, as I should be with it. So my elaborations are kind of just me on the outside thinking, okay, yeah, this is a viable Black Swan event possibility, right? And we never know when the next thing is going to happen. That's crypto. But but I just don't know what to think really. You know, I'm kind of in the same boat as you almost. I think if you sit around and you worry about it too much, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities, but not giving it any worry is also, you know, could lead to some detriment, right? So it's just this whole awareness thing.
Yeah, I think it's probably like pretty fishy, but I do not think it'll really have a gigantic impact on the market. And think about it. When was the last time something was, you know, this much in the news and this talked about and then ended up being a big catastrophic thing? Because I feel like if there's this much attention and kind of sunlight being put on it, the actors in play are covering their tracks, you know, maybe minimizing it. That's what I would think. And I think you're starting to see some of that with Bitfinex, you know, refusing to service US customers, pretty recently. So they're kind of distancing themselves from potential trouble from this. So yeah, I think it's probably fairly fishy, but I don't think it's going to be a huge problem at the end of the day.
Yeah, to me, I think it's almost grown bigger than I think they had expected when it first started, right? That's kind of my thing, is now you see on every exchange, you see there will be a US dollar Tether pairing, right? Like it's so common now. Whereas 6 months ago, you didn't really see that on every exchange, right? So even just adding that creates more demand for these tethers to be created, right? So I think there's a lot in play that it's just like, oh, okay, we didn't even see this coming. There's so much demand here, right? So.
Yeah, that's like something that's actually been common with all the crypto companies too, I think, is like more interest than they can really put up with. I mean, Poloniex was like the crypto trading website a year and a half ago. Yeah. Everyone was on it. Everyone loved it. The troll box was hilarious. But they were so overrun by traffic that they basically became unusable. People think the liquidity is bad now. There were moments on Poloniex a year ago where you literally could not close a margin position. Like you'd be hitting close like just constantly and it would not close. The website was freezing up. It would give you an error page if you reloaded it. So you have a gigantic margin position open and like this is during like the Ripple like bull run. So it's like tanking after the run up and you can't even access the account. It was god awful.
I remember that.
And a lot of people, there was a mass exodus from Poloniex because of that. And now they're kind of usable again just because they had a lot of people leave. But, it's a very common thing with a lot of crypto companies is their infrastructure is not that up to par.
Well, and now we're even seeing it with Bitrex, right? They actually suspended new signups on their exchange, I just saw. So because there is just such a mass influx of people that, you know, they're not really ready to handle that. And, you know, I got to give a lot of like good job to Bitrex because they've been really good and their communication's been awesome with how they've been handling everything. I think, and that was a big issue that Poloniex had, is their communication kind of just sucked. So.
Oh, it's garbage. I mean, the interface in Poloniex is good. The volume is pretty good there, but the communication was garbage. And at Bitrex, it was like killer. Like they're interacting with people on Twitter, you know, constantly talking with people. So. We got a little off topic with the tethers, but
again with the tether, I think it's just one of those things you got to be aware of. But if it's going to be the thing that keeps you up at night, I think already we've seen people missing out on a lot of really good opportunities because they are so focused on this one thing. So it's, you have to just keep an open mind, right?
Bitfinex has gone on record. I think he sold all of his Bitcoin at like 1,200.
I think it was like 27 or something, but he sold them a long time ago, right? So, you want to look at things like that. Well, that's a little questionable. Maybe he's angry and he's trying to spread FUD because he's angry, right? You never know. Like, anything is possible.
All right. What you got next?
Yeah. So there's obviously a wealth of information online, as far as, trading goes, you know, signals here and there on crypto Twitter. But it seems like to me that the real thing that's lacking is like information about process and methodology. And coming from a software engineering standpoint, like that stuff is really key for me and how I do work. So I've kind of tried to develop some sort of a methodology on my own. And I just wondered like how you guys came to your process.
When it comes down to trading?
Yeah. And investing. Cause I speculate, I figure that it's probably what distinguishes like great traders and investors from marginal ones, right?
It's tricky to figure it out. And I'm not even gonna, I'll be straight up. I've lost so much money in the process of trying to figure out what works for me. So, you know, it's tricky to do and everybody's going to have their own style. For me, and I've mentioned it before in a couple other episodes, a big thing for me was reading about Stan Druckenmiller and George Soros and Stephen Cohen, some of the Wall Street greats for trading, and just the methodologies, kind of how they approach the game. For me, the style that Soros and Druckenmiller kind of take an approach to it, it really made a lot of sense to me. Why have a bag that's full of like 50 different things when you could rather have something that's maybe like 10 or 8 things that you can watch closely, right? So just little things like that. But yeah, my big thing was just trying to figure out what the greats do, right? Because successful people, you want to try to do what successful people do and take little things from every person. That was the biggest thing for me. But again, I've lost so much money in the start just trying to figure out what works for me, different strategies, different hedging methods, with futures and the swaps, but with that said, again, when I was testing out strategies, I wasn't going in with large capital amounts. It would be small bets, maybe $100, $50, just to see and get the feel for things, right? So it's tricky, but it's a process thing, and it just takes time.
Yeah, and the key is you've got, like Prince said, you've got to find what works for you. Like me, I deem myself, I'm a horrible trader, but I feel like I can hold on to things that I believe in. Being a day trader and everything like that, it seems like it's really sexy. I think you can say, oh, I'm a day trader, because that's a dreamy job in at least the United States.
It sounds cool.
Yeah, it sounds awesome to say you're a day trader. So for me, it was losing my ass on thinking I'm a day trader and chasing pumps because I thought that they'd pump higher. So I've come to the realization that I long-term hold, swing trade kind of maybe 90% of my portfolio, and then keep maybe 10% for mexing, maybe doing some minor day trading stuff now that I've kind of gotten a better grasp of the market and whatnot. So I want to reiterate how important it is that every person needs to find their own strategy, something that works for them. So that's kind of.
Trading is a super emotional process, so it's got to fit with your emotions. I would just echo what you guys said. Study the greats, look at what they do, copy that. I think Twitter's actually pretty good for following people who are trading, kind of get insight into their mind, how they're thinking, copy that.
Some really good traders on Twitter.
Yeah, and just going back to what you said about knowing yourself, I kind of found the same thing. Like, I think I'm more like my personality is more conducive to just holding. I think I have like more discipline to do that. And, trading is hard too. So there's that too. But I do know that part of me kind of likes that gambling, high flying part, so I do allocate a small, part of my portfolio to kind of scratch that itch. And I think that's kind of important too, because you need a strategy that you can adhere to.
Not only that, Killer, it also aids your holding ability if you have just a small balance that you can scratch that itch with.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll attest to that one big time, because I do get that itch, and usually, I can look at a chart and I can get a decent feel for where I think it's going to go. So it's like, oh, but do I want to be holding these more of like a swing trade, or do I want to liquidate a bit so I can go and make some quick trades? Right. And so I remember when I first started, that was really tough for me to kind of figure out what I want to do, especially having a smaller capital amount. It's tough diversifying, having your longer term holds, because in the end, your longer term holds are probably going to make you your best profits, but you also have this itch to make these quick trades, right? So definitely, like you guys said, they're putting aside maybe 10% for those quick day trades if you see the opportunity. And then otherwise, you don't got to worry about always looking for a trade, because your other 90% is nice and tucked away, and the picks that you really like.
I think also, like, when you're new, there's a really strong kind of desire to feel like you have catching up to do, and feel like, oh, I gotta get ahead. I'm too late to this party. I gotta trade a lot and take a lot of risk and huge leverage. And it's not really, I mean, like Prince and Dale have said, a lot of your gains are really going to come just from holding.
Yeah.
And I think you'll find it too, as your overall balance grows, it's easier to hold, because you don't really feel this need to be like, oh, I got to keep up with the Joneses, or trade a bunch to catch up. So it kind of becomes easier with time. Even
for myself, the biggest thing was just figuring out, you don't need to trade every day. It's like, to be a successful trader, it doesn't mean you're making a trade every day, right? So, and that was a big one. I think even reading a reminiscence of a stock operator, kind of a loose thing on Jesse Livermore, and yeah, his biggest profits were always just from his sitting idle. It wasn't from his quick in and out trades. So,
and also one thing that I wanted to touch on was Prince talking about having, 10 or less bags that you can really focus on and watch. Is if think of it as watching a kid. Okay. So is it easier for you to watch, say, 5 kids or 20 kids? It's hell of a lot easier to watch the fewer of them. And you can, not only that, is you can spend your free time researching more about that project and learning more about it than trying to figure out about if you're holding 50 bags or less than 10.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. Cause the thing is, from traditional investing too, this idea of diversification gets hammered in your head so much that you end up over diversifying in a lot of cases. And I really do think that's a thing. Yeah. And I think you limit your returns if you're not allocating enough capital to your very best ideas. So you don't want to be Mr. Personal Mutual Fund having 100 different positions. Yeah.
Yeah. Diversification is the quickest way to mediocre returns, right? So it's
yeah, you'll get the index, but that's all you're going to get.
Exactly.
There's a lot of alpha to be had in these markets, in crypto. That's extra return for, yeah.
Is there anything more you want us to elaborate on with that, Ryan?
No, that's great. And I think I will dig into some of those books, especially on Soros. I've heard great things about his style.
Yeah, him and Druckenmiller, Druckenmiller used to work for his fund, and those guys, so interesting, right? Their records are just nothing but success, really. So definitely good individuals to read up on.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Thanks. Yeah. So my next question, John McAfee, your opinion, is he good for crypto or bad for crypto?
I think at this stage, exposure is good exposure.
Yeah, he's a character.
So I think good.
Right? Yeah. He's a character. He's got a personality. I think he does bring a lot of attention to this space. Whether it be good and bad, I don't know. I think there's a mixture of both at times. But you know what? Any attention, I think right now is good attention.
Yeah, for new people though, you might want to be careful buying into those coins of the day.
Yeah.
That can be real tricky and you might lose a lot of money.
Yeah. So, don't be chasing
overall,
those.
I'd say, don't chase
It's great
pumps.
if you're in it, but yeah, definitely don't be chasing it.
My buddy, the one that got me hooked on crypto, his first recommendation to me was Verge. And I held it until the Wraith release and saw that it was just kind of a botched marketing attempt and got rid of it. And sure enough, what was a month later, that just enormous ramp up.
Man,
yeah.
I got I think everyone's got their stories like that in crypto. For me, it was Ray Blocks. We've seen Ray Blocks just go absolutely parabolic here in the last month and a bit. I remember holding that, buying in a lot when the market cap was around 3 million. And it was just kind of chilling. It wasn't doing much. And I was like, I got other opportunities that I think I can put my money into that are going to do better for me right now. Now I look at it and it's like, wow, what a mistake, right? But, that's the thing about crypto is there's so many other opportunities that are always going to be out there that getting hung up on one misplay, there's no point in it,
Chasing pumps is kind of akin to that opening scene from Office Space where he's stuck in traffic and as soon as he switches lanes, it just gets stuck in that lane and the lane he was in just goes forward. It's kind of like that. I mean, you're going to end up feeling a lot like that if you chase pumps.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, I have things that I look for on any chart that I look at. What's your ideal TA setup? What do you buy on? What time frames, what indicators?
Well, I usually I guess first thing I'll do is I'll look at the weekly chart, get a general feel for it. And then I'll look at the daily chart. Again, I want to just get a feel for the price action. I don't really load up on indicators a lot on my charts. I like to keep it fairly simple, just volume and price action. I want to see what these candles are doing. And then when I'm trying to decide my entry points, I'll start looking at the 30-minute and the 1 hour. So typically through the day, I'll just watch the 4 hour. But yeah, it's tricky. I don't use a lot of indicators, but that's just what works for me. My perfect TA setups, I don't really think there is a perfect one. I love playing a pennant, like a flag. A lot of times in crypto, those can lead to some pretty explosive, gains. Again, the Adam and Eve bottoms are kind of another classic in crypto, I've noticed. We just saw a nice one here with Bitcoin and a lot of other alts. play out on their US dollar charts. But yeah, I don't know, like the perfect setup. I don't think there really is a perfect setup, right? It's just, trading is a weird thing for me, right? Because a lot of it, as much as you don't want it to be about emotions, my instincts will also guide me on a lot of things, right? So, when it's right, it's right. It's a weird thing, but a lot of traders will know it, when you have that conviction, and it's just something you get from experience sometimes,
Yeah.
Another thing too you need to do. Oh, sorry, Killer. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, man.
I was just in touch quick. Another thing is I'm big on trusting your gut. So if you see something in your chart and it's screaming something at you and you feel you need to buy or sell, do it.
Yeah. And, I mean, mine's pretty simple too. Again, I really don't trade too actively anymore. But when I do, I like just simple stuff. Bollinger Bands are a good one, that can kind of give you an idea of, expected volatility ranges. I've recently started using Ichimoku clouds and, the lines that come along with that. I found that to be pretty helpful.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I
too.
like the moving averages for those.
Yeah, me too. I think that's really better in like high volatility environments, especially.
Mm-hmm.
But lately I've just been trading like really short time frames, on MEX. Just trying to scalp like short moves with like big positions, buying dips, selling, the quick pop-ups and stuff like that, with mixed results. But, so I've kind of found a niche. It's fun, just with a small amount of capital.
Yeah, I like the, Ichi clouds too. With my alts, I kind of like to look at the 30, the 1 hour, and the 4 hour more so than, like with Bitcoin, I do like to look at the 4 hour daily and then the weekly, and no particular, I mean, obviously I said that in reverse order for Bitcoin, but, big on the Ichi clouds. I don't, I'm like Killer too. I'm not really that actively day trading, but, I do like to watch things and maintain my positions and whatnot.
The other nice thing too is even if you're not actively day trading, just by watching those charts, you get a better feel, even just that, and sometimes that can be really good for you in developing your own strategies because you're not actually putting capital into it at the moment just on this certain move. You already have a position in it that you're kind of just holding for the long term maybe, but you can start to get a feel for these different chart movements and these setups just by watching it, and watching what your position is doing and just watching how the chart is reacting. And then, you get more of a feel for some of these moves and you can go in and start actually quickly going in and out, whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Going back to actually, Sicarius had a really good point on episode that just released today, I guess.
Yeah.
But have a plan when you go into a trade. Don't just go in and be like, I feel like buying, I want to buy. Like trust your gut, but also have an idea of where you want to get out, where you're going to have a stop loss, what your profit target. I mean, target's like a super hard thing to call, but just have a feeling for where you want to get out.
For me, I'll usually have my mental stop loss. I won't put it in directly just because I've had some times where it'll screw me over. They'll do a stop run and then. Of course, mine was right in that cluster of other stops, and then they'll bounce it right back up, and that's a classic maneuver. So I had to start doing the mental stops. And then again, for the targets, I'll kind of have some mental targets, but with that being said, I'm not going to limit myself and say it has to be this target and then I'm done because I've also lost out on a lot of profit because of that. I think Stratus was probably my best worst trade ever.
Yeah.
Back in was it March or April or something? The first big alt run for the season. Stratus went completely, just went insane. It went from, I think maybe 14 cents up to around $10 or something at one point. And of course I was setting targets, right? I was setting sell targets and I was sticking to them. And I wasn't taking into account the irrationality and the way the herd can really drive a market because these are some of the most pure markets, in the world right now. This is, retail for the most part, and it is so driven by emotions, so it's beautiful in a sense, but because of that, you have to kind of think in that outside the box a bit. It's like, okay, how crazy can this potentially get? And so that's where this whole thing of not always selling your entire position out when you're up a huge, just let it ride. If it's free profits, pretty much you're in, just let it ride.
Yeah, and I really think you should have a bias to the upside. I mean, given that, obviously we've been super bullish, but another reason is that, unlike stocks where a company can get to a certain value and you're like, okay, like this ridiculous, it absolutely makes zero sense for this company to be valued this high. The PE is, a million and 1,000 million, and like it just doesn't make any sense. But with crypto, that's harder to do. I mean, it's harder to put a ceiling on these things, because it's almost up to your imagination. It's like with what Prince said. So keep that in mind too.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to me that the psychology plays a lot into trading. I found that aspect of it really interesting too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think that's the part I enjoy the most, probably.
Yeah, me too. Trying to get an idea how other people think and how you can, react to that and capitalize on that is fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. There's always when there's a spectacle in the market, there's always, some angle that you can work, while everyone else is looking at this one thing. Yeah. It seems like, and I've only gotten hip to that, just recently. Prince, sorry, go ahead.
No, what were you saying?
I was going to say, I think you mentioned the US dollar charts, and that was one of my questions. I do occasionally look at US dollar charts, and I don't know that I can really articulate the value that I take away from it, but it seems to kind of like cancel out some of the Bitcoin noise. And it seems like they're trying to maintain parity.
Yeah. So a big problem, especially, people coming in that are newer, will say a lot of people, we've seen kind of crypto Twitter being all blown up about, oh, well, if you're up in US dollar, but you're down in Bitcoin, are you really profiting? There's arguments to be said that no, you're not, you're missing out. So we'll call that opportunity cost in a sense. But, this is where I think I saw someone post today, and it was really a good point on Twitter. I can't remember who did, but it was that, hodling, the hodl term, it's not necessarily made for altcoins. HODL is for Bitcoin, right? Altcoins are just to get more Bitcoin a lot of the times. But so what we can do is you can take the US dollar chart, you can look at it and you can get a general feel for, okay, if I want it to be in this stable currency pairing, then I'll go with US dollar. If you want to really be on top of the gun, on the game and always on it, then you're going to watch the Bitcoin pairing. And obviously your moves are probably going to be a lot quicker, because you're playing Bitcoin's volatility, really. Pretty much that's all you're doing. So it's tough, I think a great example is Ripple, where its Bitcoin value just plummeted for months, yet its US dollar values, it just hung around kind of 20 cents in that zone, right? So I think, you got to take into account both charts. I always do. But I don't live or die by either one. It's like if I can find an opportunity on one of them that I think is a great opportunity, then I'm going to take it, whether it's US dollar chart or the Bitcoin chart. So.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I don't get too caught up in either one. It just kind of depends on where I'm trading, the exchange, where the volume is at. Go where the liquidity is in general. I think that's super important. We touched on that a couple episodes ago. But that just makes it easier to get in and out of your positions, especially if you're working with a lot of money. That's a really important thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Probably got time for one more, Ryan.
Yeah, I've got one more good question. So when do you guys think we'll see mass adoption, like in terms of use, not speculation, of cryptocurrencies?
So I think like the really big retail wave just started within the past like month and a half, 2 months. That's what I've noticed based on my conversations with people, hearing people talk about it. I think that wave has begun, but again, just in the past couple months. In terms of when it'll be really commonplace, a few years at least, I would say. You talk to people and a lot of people are still just starting to grasp Bitcoin. Heaven forbid you bring up an altcoin or try to explain Ethereum or smart contracts or any of the other complex ones or ring signatures. It's just like you're fighting a losing battle. So it's going to be a while. And this is the sort of stuff where it's so complex that it takes a long time after discovering it for it to really sink in, for you to really understand it, and for you to kind of have enough of a knowledge base to where you can use that, to do projects and talk about it. So there's quite a learning curve. So it's going to be a while, I think.
That's the beautiful thing about our situation. Even if you're new to the market, you're still so early. Nothing serious, I guess, on for a society kind of sense has really happened yet, but it's happening and it's in the works. And it's going to be really cool when it happens. But in that process, we're going to see some boom and bust cycles. There's a lot of crap out there that is trading at a market cap that is a lot higher than I think it should even be. So we're going to see that. And this is the beautiful thing about the market we're in. It's an immature market. So
yeah, that's something new people I would say keep in mind also is like literally probably 95% of coins are absolute garbage.
Yeah.
They'll probably go up, because everything else is going up and there's just so much capital flowing in, but they're not good long-term projects. There's probably not a use for them. There's probably not even a use to have a token. It's a lot of people capitalizing on all the bullishness in the space in general.
Yeah.
That goes back to, the whole don't be a personal mutual fund and buy 500 different crypto positions and, sit on it. Cause you might do well in the short term, but I think a lot of that's going to go to shit basically pretty soon. So
and that's where, I prefer to keep my positions fairly concentrated in a sense. A lot of people would call me crazy, but it works. I make it work. And it's because I don't like to be in stuff that, I just don't trust fully all the time. You know what I mean? It's like I want to be in something that I know is at least fundamentally solid.
Yeah.
So I don't trade a lot of like the complete shit coins, people like scam coins. There's a lot of guys out there who will trade them and they make a lot of money. I never really traded them because my trading approach, it makes me very uncomfortable. And I get worried. So typically if I do, it's a very small position just because you never know. But yeah, there's some guys who kill it.
You kind of ebb and flow. Like sometimes I'll find myself I have like a lot of just tiny like shitcoin positions. I'm like, all right, I gotta get rid of these and like put it in something I really like, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Monero.
Yeah.
One of those. So, you kind of have to do some cleanup occasionally just because you're going to accumulate some garbage over time.
And, Michael Oved, we had him on one of the first episodes and he kind of felt that we were didn't he say 1.5, 2 years away, Killer?
Yeah, from like big institutional money even coming in.
Which is crazy to think about because that feels so far away still.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll slowly get there and we'll see more adoption, maybe in sectors and pieces. But I'm agree with what Oved said and Killer said. I think we're at least 2 years from at least the big dogs.
A great thing to me, and I think the process it's happening. It's happening right now as we speak because I remember the Ari Paul episode there not long ago. He was saying how when he's talking to now people in the industry, it went from them thinking crypto is kind of just this niche thing, kind of laughable at times, whatever, to now they have to learn about it because they have so many questions about it all the time, right? So that's how right? It's moving. It's on its way because now they don't have an option. They have to learn, right? That's big. So
perfect.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the time, guys.
Ryan, thanks for being
thanks
on.
for coming on.
Good having you on.
Again, it's his Twitter's Don Diego Capital, just spelled like it sounds. His Twitch account, give him a follow there. Watch him do his live day trading or trading. That's Crypto Capital. So Ryan, thanks again a lot. Great questions. Hopefully everyone listening learned some things. Hopefully you did as well. Any final
I did,
remarks?
definitely. No, I just I love the podcast and I look forward to hearing future episodes.
Thank you, man. We really appreciate the support. Good having you on.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, so thanks everyone. Tip your waitress. Take care and we'll chat soon.